Concord is dead. They killed it. It's shut down. It's gone. No more. Concord, piece of trash video game, right?
It's not really, no.
No, it was all right. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Overreaction from a lot of people.
For sure, absolutely.
But as we talked about in our review, which is very null and void now.
Yes.
We liked the gameplay. The gameplay, which is always king, did really well in Concord. It's everything else that started getting lacking, not so good at outright in some areas.
And let me go ahead and say, all you fucking losers in my YouTube comments just blowing up my videos with, oh, Concord, dead game. Oh, Concord sucked. Yeah, you're a loser for thinking Concord was good. You didn't play the game. You know how I know you didn't play the game? It's because 25,000 people played the game. And I swear to God, not a single one of you played the game. I played the game. It was fun. Was it great? No. But it was good, and you didn't play the game. So you don't get to speak to people who spend the time to do things like this.
Yeah, well, to the more important part is, well...
No, my opinion is the most important part of this entire conversation.
Well, it is.
And it is Concord was Game of the Year.
Well, it is TwoPennyGames. You don't even believe that.
Not even close, no.
But you know what? The problem is that people need to stop having so much of their image of a game being shaped by what's being said around it. You know? Will you probably not like it? I feel like a lot of the people that are saying, oh, it's a dead game, bad game, probably wouldn't have liked it on its own merits. But like you said, you guys probably didn't try it. Let's be honest.
You didn't play the fucking game. I saw the Steam numbers. You fucking nerds didn't play it. Anyways, we're going to jump over to the PlayStation blog, an important update on Concord. This is from Ryan Ellis, game director of Firewalk Studios. This was posted September 3rd, 2024. Concord fans, we've been listening closely to your feedback since the launch of Concord on PlayStation 5 and PC, and want to thank everyone who has joined the journey aboard the North Star. Your support and the passionate community that has grown... It was called the North Star?
Yeah.
I played this game and reviewed it. I didn't know that. And the passionate community that has grown around the game has meant the world to us. However, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. Excuse me. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th, 2024. That was this last Thursday night, Friday. This was the last Friday. And explore options, including those that will reach our players. While we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. If you purchase the game for PlayStation 5 from the PlayStation Store or PlayStation Direct, a refund will be issued back to your original payment method. Customers who purchased from other digital storefronts will be refunded. More information about refunds from Steam and Epic can be found below. And of course, they go into all the details about that. So, Connor, Concord, dead. Killed it. No more. Yep. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. There's a chance that Firewalk will tweak it, tune the game, figure something else out with it, and possibly we see a return of Concord in some form or fashion. Probably, definitely free to play, especially if they're eliciting refunds to everybody who bought the game. Not that big of a deal. Only 25,000 people bought it. You know, still not a small chunk of change, but you know.
Helped me buy Space Marine 2 in advance to play it early. So thank you, Concord. Thank you, Firewalk.
So, anyways, Connor, does Concord ever come back?
I doubt it. And I think at this point, they'd be better off going in another direction with some other game rather than trying to make, which, you know, inherently with how you made it, it didn't catch with people. I was talking with a friend about, you know, Concord failing. This person doesn't really pay attention to games. They, of course, were just like, oh, this game failed. What happened? Told them and whatnot. And talking about it, you know what they could have done to make this game successful? You're going to hate me, Tavin.
Yeah.
And some people will be like, well, that's not something I like. Well, be that as it may, if you made the characters really fucking hot into some form or fashion, you would have had a lot better of a launching off point than you did.
Now, I disagree that you should have done that. But I won't disagree that, you know, sex does sell. So, you know, it probably would have helped in some form.
Which, I mean, like, the issue is the art style wasn't really hitting all that well. It didn't hit well. There was an image shared of the big armored lady. We can't even remember the names. You know her. You know who I'm talking
The
about.
one with the minigun.
Yeah, with the minigun.
Yeah.
There was concept art, at least it possibly was concept art from how she used to look, and it was a good design.
Oh.
And then it just, like, it changed it, made it really bulky and weird looking. And, you know, it made me curious about, you know, did something just go away that kind of made this game dead on arrival? Like, with the visuals? Not only just in how the characters were designed, but also another thing that I kind of heard, because everyone was talking about it. It was the big news at the time, because this never really happened to this degree, where you just have a game that only came out.
This was supposed to be PlayStation's big
new.
new IP. This was supposed to be their huge launch into live service multiplayer games, and it didn't even last 2 weeks.
No, it did not. And, you know, with the way it was a games as service game, a live service game, which is already one that you're going to have to sell pretty heavily with cosmetics, with good looking characters. But also, and we touched on it in our review, the visuals didn't need to be as high fidelity as they were.
No.
Not only just because it's the kind of game that it is, and it's not a, you know, single player narrative game, which benefits from that kind of style the most, but it also would make it a lot harder on the back end to do customizations, to add on things to their character. And it just, like, for what really? For an aspect of game design that is, you know, dragged on the development of games far too much already.
Yeah.
You know, what was the idea with that? I don't know. So many decisions that were made make sense as to why it was going to be a failed game. Mm-hmm. It's just the precedent of it failing so quickly that took people off guard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, they didn't even try to make it free to play.
No.
They didn't even try. Like, they said, no, we're taking it down immediately. I think it's a multi-step reason as to why Concord failed. Part of it is design and aesthetic. It looks and feels generic. Like, it screams generic store-bought Guardians of the Galaxy. We said this in our review. It's just, there's nothing really unique about Concord, except for what was that system called that we liked? The crew bonus. The crew bonus system. Here's the thing. I hope, I don't know, but I hope that PlayStation and Firewalk figure out a way to recycle Concord in some way. What form does that take? Well, I think clearly a free-to-play game. I think clearly you're going to have to redesign everything. Pretty much all the art of the game is going to have to be stripped out and put something new on, right? Get rid of these cutscenes, even though you've already dumped millions of dollars into them, I'm sure, and so that's going to suck. You're going to have to get rid of those and just get a art style that is striking, with character designs that are memorable, with character names that are memorable, and then I think you abandon the Concord name as an IP. Rebrand it as something else. I don't know what you rebrand it as. That's something for the creatives on that team to figure out, or the marketing people to figure out a name that will work. You're going to have to do to this what Apex Legends did to Titanfall, in which we are taking pretty much the same core gameplay. We're tweaking it a little bit to kind of give it a new flavor, but the same, type of food. And then we are going to have to redesign it under a different type of gameplay system in order to make all these things work. I think the shooting, the gunplay, the abilities, all of those work fine. What Concord needs, which is what we said in our review, is a unique game mode that makes it stand out amongst the crowd to garner interest. It needs a unique, it needs a different art style that makes it more appealing to the eye. Because I think the focus on hyper detailed fidelity, realism, kind of turned a lot of people away. We don't want to look at that all the time. Yeah. And then we're going to have to figure out how to make these characters interesting and charming in some special way. And most of all, in this day and age, even though I would personally rather spend $40 to get a premiere experience, you're going to have to go free to play in some form. So is it a lost cause for Concord? Concord in name, yes. Concord, the game, no. There's a way to bring this back. Now, will PlayStation be willing to spend the money and give another 2 years probably to Firewalk to figure this out, to rebrand it and get it out? Or even, 18 months to do that? Maybe even less than that? I don't know. I don't think so. Especially because I think the market spoke very clearly this last week. Hey, this news dropped, and then the next day or 2 days later, Astrobot reviews came out. And Astrobot is the best reviewed game of the year. And we're going to have a review for it next week for Astrobot, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned to that. But spoilers, I've been playing it. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's one of the best games of the year, hands down, no contest. And so Astrobot, I think, sends a very clear message to Sony/PlayStation of this is the game we want. We want single-player, handcrafted, fun video games that have a striking art style to them. And Concord isn't going to fit the bill. Is it a done deal for Concord? There is a potential future in which you can bring it back, but I don't think PlayStation will do it. The market has spoken. We don't want that from you.
If they ditch it entirely, I think going on the Astrobot thing, to make a game that doesn't cost millions of dollars, maybe, and years to develop. Like, they're a whole game studio. They can make any type of game. Just bring it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Use them. If they're your premier studio, at least they were planning to be, well, it didn't work out what they were doing. But at the same time, you've been given the gift of knowing what can sell, what can work, the Astrobot kind of model. Obviously, you're going to have to do more than just be, making fun platformers. But it's the concept of what you're looking for when you buy a game. And maybe just making a, simple, not too complex, fun game that's just built on solid systems is the way to go, rather than trying to revive a dead corpse.
I mean, I think it is. This is what we've been preaching for the longest time. We want shorter games that don't look as detailed, that are just easier to make for the developers. We hunger for the times where we could get an entire trilogy in one console generation. Those times are gone, and we want them back.
Yeah.
And this is really just, a very interesting tell for the industry as a whole, as you look at Team Asobi and what they've done, and what Firewalk did and what they did with the size of the teams. Firewalk is a bigger team. Firewalk had more time to develop and had more money dumped into it, whereas Team Asobi had 3 years, 60 people, and they knocked it out. And they knocked it out of the park. It was great. It's because they didn't waste time with this huge work pipeline to get all this art online, to get all these systems online, to focus test the game to death. They said, hey, we know exactly what we were doing. We have a vision. We're going to execute on it. And we're going to execute on it fast. 3 years is a good dev cycle to work on. It used to work all the time, or it was a lot more sustainable, at least at the very least, than these 8-year dev cycles that we had for Concord. Concord became a victim of its own dev cycle because it took too long and it cost too much to make. If instead this game came out 2 years ago, one, it would have been received better because we wouldn't have been quite as burnt out on hero shooters as we are today. And people would have been more willing to accept it, even though it didn't look the absolute prettiest thing in the world. And Concord did look pretty, but was it worth it? Obviously not, because Astrobot is running circles around that, and Astrobot looks like a game that came out early PlayStation 4.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's gorgeous. You love to look at it. You love to play it. It feels great to play. They knew what they were doing, and it is apparent that Concord was, sent out to die. There's no way PlayStation didn't know that this game was going to flop the way it flopped. They had the information. They knew from the moment the game was announced. It was a
Yeah.
And then when gameplay was premiered, that doesn't look great. We said it back then too. Hey, this game doesn't look like it's doing anything wrong, but it's not doing anything special. And that was the overwhelming feedback that came back when we got to the beta. And then it was the overwhelming feedback it got when the game released. This game does nothing special. We are not interested in this. PlayStation sent this game out to die. There's no way they didn't know that this was happening. So, will you ever see it again? I don't know. PlayStation's under different management than when this game came or got greenlit. I hope Herman Holst and the other guy, the Japanese guy who I can't remember, I hope they've got better hands on the reins than what we had with
Jim Ryan?
Yes, Jim Ryan. I hope this is going to push us in the better direction. Yep. Who knows? It's also worth saying, hey, PlayStation 5 Pro looks like it's going to be announced tomorrow/today from when you're listening to this. We record these on Monday.
We're not going to bother.
We're not going to bother. Well, and also, it's a 9-minute presentation. It's going to be all tech talk. They're only going to talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro. We are not tech-heavy people. So I think a lot of that talk is going to go over our heads. So we're not really planning on doing a reacts to that. We'll come back next week with the information. Prepare for a $600, $650, maybe even $700 console.
Well, see, I have a thought in my brain.
Yeah.
What if they do a really weird thing and they're like, obviously PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
And at the end, they're like, the next thing's coming. And they do like the stupid fucking thing these corporations will do where they like tease a piece of technology or tease something of like, hey, it's coming. It's being
Teasing
developed.
a handheld or
No, a new console.
that would be stupid.
But it's not impossible.
You don't want to announce a new thing that's coming in 3 to 4 years and in the same presentation where you're announcing your new thing that you want to sell by Christmas.
You wouldn't want to, but it could.
Yeah,
Possibility is not zero.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Ugh.
Yep.
What a shame for Concord. I feel so bad for those devs, and that's also something I want to talk about. Not quite yet, but close. That's something I want to talk about as well. Is God, I hope Firewalk doesn't get the brunt of this. And then also, if you work for Haven Studios, if you work for Bungie, update your IMDb's right now, because at this rate, I would be shocked to see if Fair Games is launched any better. And even more than that, I'm hearing, the streets are saying Marathon is not going so well in development either. People are positive about Fair Games, I'm hearing, is the reception in playtesting has been positive. So maybe Fair Games will have a better shot, but
not hopeful.
Not it doesn't look ideal. I mean, just look at the way the tide is turning,